Stodi Emma Ira Mabefie Behume Free me meant to say meant to we will lift your name on high. Father, we worship you. Father, we give you Sena Mufamano Osayeyo Junyamiadia Sae Mama Juchum Sena Mufamano Osajumo Oh, aboding sena wafamano osabodino osabodino Sena Mumia Famaro we give you praise, Lord. We give you praise for Hello, a very good evening to you, our cherished viewers. You are welcome to Wednesday, happening here at Destiny Arena, Makers House Chapel International. We thank God that you've been able to join us tonight. It's going to be exciting, educative as usual, and we thank God for giving us the opportunity. And also to you, for allowing us to come into your homes and your offices, wherever you are at this point in time. You are welcome to Wednesday. Today we are looking at a very interesting subject that sends chills down the spines of many when we talk about death. That is the subject we are talking about tonight. Death. I'm sure someone is asking a question, why death? It's an important thing because it's not something that may happen. It happens in life. It's part of us as we are coming. And we have Dr. Michael to unravel the mysteries and the myths, the misconceptions, the fears that comes along with this strange but seemingly something that lives with us. He's going to unravel all the mysteries around the subject. So please stay with us. My name is Nana Poku, and it's a pleasure to come your way. After the break, Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye is going to get deeper into what it is about, if it's profitable. I also want to encourage you to share the video and then also invite as many people as you can to join the feed. You can do a watch party and also pick up your phone, call me. I'll catch you when we return from the break. Stay tuned.
When he wants you to move to your next level, he will always put your faith on trial, and until you are able to overcome the boisterous and the tempestuous winds that will come up against you, you are not ready to be given the crown of success or significance. Anytime God will give you a word, you will not see him in the boat, but he has oversight responsibility over the journey. Whatever you are going through, he's just watching. Most of the time, the devil will not start when you start. He'll only get through to you when you happen to be in the middle of the journey. God will always put your faith on trial. And when he does that, it is not because he wants you to fail, but he wants to make a bold statement with you and make a statement of claim to the devil. And anytime God is making boast of you, he is putting your faith on trial.
All right, welcome back to Wednesday, and thank you so much for joining us. We are talking about death. tonight on the show. But before we get into the discussion, please share the video and also let us know where you are watching us from. Thank you so much to all the viewers, the faithful ones that you've stayed with us all throughout. Thank you so much. Please share the video and invite people as well to watch the show. All right. So we are getting into the discussion, talking about death, as I said before. I'm sure everyone watching us, you've experienced the painful exit of a loved one at some point in time. You've lost a friend, a colleague, a family member, and a close associate before. You know how painful that is. It looks as if nobody seemed to be prepared for this phenomenon that happens in life. But tonight, must we act as if death doesn't exist? It's actually inevitable. And then Dr. Michael is going to get deeper into it. Papa, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to have you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
I mean, all the things you've been talking about and the concept of death and, you know, when you are young, you don't want to be hearing.
At all. Very uncomfortable question, yeah. About death, yeah.
But I'm excited you are raising them.
It's good. It's good.
Yes.
So at least we come to terms.
Very good.
It's something that is
very
all right.
good.
All right. So, folks, Papa, death. Death. Is it something that we should take it out of our mind completely, or is something that as a person, as an individual, you should be thinking about as you get along in life? Because it's not pleasant at all to think about it. I mean, who goes about thinking that, hey, what if I die today? But it happens to people.
Thank you. Anybody who is a realist and anybody who has any form of association with a deity, whether they belong to any of the known religions, whether the person is a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist, death is part of us. In all the major religions, death is mentioned. In fact, in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter number 15, from the verse number 53, the Bible talks about the fact that the mortal will take on immortality. We will take on the form that doesn't perish. And that is the only time we can boldly say that death, where is your power? Or grave, where is your strength? So even in the Bible, we are made aware, those of us who are Christians, that death is a part of us. Unfortunately, we don't prepare for it. And the reason why, it is just like writing an exam. No matter how good you are as a student, when you feel ill-prepared for an exam, you wish the days or the day of the exam or the date of the exam had been postponed.
Yes.
But if you are ready, especially if you know the answers, you want them to bring the exam very quickly so you write it and get it done and dusted with. So it is the lack of preparation of men that gives us the notion of that falsehood that probably we are here to stay. But we are temporal accessories on the stage of life. We are here, but we'll leave this world at one point. Maximus said ultimately we are all dead men. So it is just a matter of time. It is not that we are here to stay forever. But we have to constantly talk about it. When I say that, what I really mean is the reason why people can capitalize on the fear of death to exploit other people is because people are afraid that they will die. What is the point of living for 200 years, 300 years, 500 years if you can? Ultimately, you are going to leave anyway. It is rather a matter of you being able to fulfill your assignment on earth, which we'll get into it. Premature deaths, all of that, we can talk about them. But death is just a transition from the material world to the immaterial world. It's a movement from this plane to the next plane. It is just the doors between eternity and this realm being opened onto the mortal soul. So it is something that I believe we must talk about. We must understand the nuances of it. We have to Even talk about some of the experiences of people, near-death experiences of people, and what they find beyond. So that, what do you see? Is it possible that when somebody is about to die, he sees it? Or she sees it? What are some of the signs? What are some of the... So there are things that we can learn.
That's right. Yeah.
That will probably help us to put our house in order. It's just like somebody being told, you have 3 months to live. But that is not conclusive. My father-in-law, who probably is watching right now, he normally watches me. In 2009, was diagnosed of cancer. It was multiple myeloma. And I found my wife in the bedroom sobbing. So I went to her and I asked her, what's happening? What's the problem? She said to me, she couldn't talk. Then she told me later on that the hospital just called her that she should give, as the first child, give her consent for them to almost like try or test a new drug or something on the dad. But it's possible he might not make it because he has some few months to live. He's still living now. But what it did to the man was that even till now, anytime I go to the US and I see him, he tells me that, oh, Kojomi, I can go any day. I can go anytime. So the man has been able to drive away the fear of death, not just from himself, but from the wife and from the kids. So if I'm talking to my wife now, you can tell me that, Akutinko, okay, that's how we call him. The old boy can go anytime. I mean, he's been able to break it down, break it down onto them, and so the fear of death is broken. Sometimes it's just wise to know where ultimately we are heading towards. If we get to know, we prepare better. We are able to plan better. We are able to live life in the blocks that we are supposed to live. Again, we have to be able to get to that place where we make the best out of life as of now. Because if you really understand that you are going to exit, you will make the best use of every time God gives you in the land of the dying.
Wow. That's a very, very, very deep point. It makes you know how to live your life.
In the land of the dying.
The land of the dying. But you spoke about transition. That means it's a journey. It's a journey.
That's right.
Okay. So that means that if I transit from here, there's another destination for me.
Definitely.
Is that a Christian perspective? Or it's just about life also?
It's a faith perspective, not just Christian. Muslims believe that. Buddhists believe that. So it's a faith perspective. Again, the reason why we talk about death is because you can go and see the doctor if you're a woman, and you and your husband can plan your parental controls, birth controls. You can take drugs for birth control, but there is nothing for death control. And so you have to rather be adequately prepared for that journey. Just as you're saying, those of us who are in the faith circles, we believe that Hebrews chapter 9, the verse number 27, for it is appointed unto man once to die. It is appointed. It is non-negotiable. It is appointed. It is not, you will exit.
That's right.
The silver lining will be taken off. Everything will leave you.
Definitely.
You will come to the point where you become an immortal soul. Not respectful, or is no respecter of gender, of creed, of race. Man is for humankind. Humankind, what we all have in common is not our heights. What we all have in common is not our complexion, or our race, or our gender, or our educational status. What we have in common is the 6 feet. What we have in common is that ultimately we are all going to die. And so I think it is a beautiful subject to consider, because the more you think about it, the more you begin to appreciate even life. Until you see the prospect of death, the beauty of life will be undervalued.
I've heard stories, and of course I've actually been at funerals where the death of the person seemed so painful, and in some instances it's as though it's not so painful. And of course, when we even look at funeral posters and adverts on them, sometimes you see ones like "gone too soon." What a shock! Does it mean that it is as humans we expect that people should live to up to a certain age before they go? Would that be premature death?
No, of course. I mean, we all expect that we and our loved ones, colleagues, friends will grow old together, probably lose our teeth together, and lose some few gray hair together, and still nibble on pie and sit by the beach together. But life is not like that. The fact that we all didn't come into the world one day means that we all not live one day. We will live on different times. You came on your time, we'll live on your time. People's longevity are normally hinged on assignment. And I keep saying that you can't say that Jesus died prematurely. Although he died at the age of 33 years and 6 months, if it was in our time, I believe that people would have written the same thing. Because these days, if somebody dies at 33.6 or 33 years and 6 months, you will say, gone too soon.
Yeah.
Or what a shock. They won't say call to glory.
No.
They will say what a shock. Because they expect that the person will die at 70, at 80, at 90, probably at 100. I had a relative who died about 120 something years. And so
120
something.
Wow.
Plus 120 plus years.
Wow.
I still have.
Is it many years ago?
Not too many years ago. I still have grandparents who are there who are in their 90s. I have one that is 97 now and another that is 95.
Wow.
So there are, but they lost even their kids and they are there. So it's rather assignment. It's not so much living to 100. Because what is the point? Living to 100 years and not fulfilling assignment.
Okay.
John the Baptist died in his early 30s as well, because don't forget he was older than Jesus by about 6 months. And so he died in his early 30s. Now, if he died in his early 30s, like 31, like 32, that's when he died. Because when Jesus was introduced, he exited.
He exited.
So put him around 31, 32 years before he died, or when he died. But the man fulfilled assignment. He said, I am the voice of the one crying in the wilderness, saying, prepare ye the way of the Lord. He was a voice. That was an introductory voice. Once his assignment was done, whether he lives up to 100 or 200, it was irrelevant. Okay. So those are some of the things.
So essentially, we shouldn't, should we not be,
you see, okay, so let me
feel
say
the pain.
The shock, what a shock. The person that has died is not shocked.
It's a shock to
It is
us.
the living. Shock to the loved ones, not the person who has departed. The departed is not shocked. The departed is not saying gone too soon. Because of all the people who have had near-death experiences, they will tell you, it is either they find that every pain is gone, they have no pain, no fear, nothing, and they have absolute peace. Or some of them will tell you that they see a light being thrown on them, and it's so attractive that they reach towards the light, and it's like they fly into the light.
Yeah.
Some of them will tell you that when they got to a place that was very peaceful and beautiful, then somebody will tell you, it's not your time yet, go back. So they are in places of total peace, if you are religious, or total pain. So the shock or the soon or whatever you are talking about, they don't feel it. We have a problem with emotional detachment. Once we are connected or emotionally attached to people, that's why even when I remember when you were going out with one of my daughters.
Are you talking about myself?
Yes, yourself.
Well, we're talking about death.
Yes, I know. I'm using this as an example. And the relationship went south. You could go and park your car. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You are emotionally connected.
My producer is signaling that he will edit this part.
Okay. We have emotional attachment. Even when the person says, I'm moving on, when you are in love with you don't want the person to go. So even the fact that you can still see the person, you don't want the person to go. How much more knowing that you won't see the person anymore? I mean, the pain, the disappointment. And the most painful part normally is when they are putting sand
on them
or dust on the person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most painful part. And when everything is done and they cover it and you leave the person, the body, in the cemetery. So we have that. As humans, we have attachments. I lost my mom about 19 years ago. About 19 years ago. About 19 years ago. And I remember I was even in school, University of Cape Coast, first year. And they sent me, my brother called me from Adisadel College.
I remember, I think
said,
you said that before.
Mom is dead.
Mewu.
And for a split second, I didn't know what to do because it was... Now, prior to that, Nana, the night before my mom passed, my mom revealed herself unto me.
Wow.
As in, she showed... I saw my mom.
In a dream or
in
vision?
A dream. She was immaculate, spotless, very beautiful, and she was glowing.
Wow.
The next day she passed. So when I shared it, I was younger then, so when I shared it with some of my leaders, and that's what they told me, that normally if you dream and you see somebody glowing and it's beautiful, it becomes spotless, immaculate, like flawless human being. It tells you
that the person is about exiting.
About exiting, because that is when they take on a glorified body. Wow. All right, so but it's normal. I mean, you feel the pain. Up till now, anytime I remember, or when it's the anniversary of my mom, I still feel it because sometimes my disappointment, the shock, gone too soon. The shock. My mom died in her 40s, so the shock that I have anytime that comes up is the fact that I was her first child and I never bought her even a bottle of water before she died.
Oh.
So you have that thing, you have that pain, that attachment. But again, did she exit on God's terms? Was she done with her assignment? Or she was helped out? Because all of that are possibilities we can explore.
Well, folks, I'm sure what we are discussing has resurrected and is going to trigger a lot of emotions in some of us, especially for those of us who have lost very close relatives, parents and children, whatever. But it's very important that we get into the subject. We want to ask Papa to help us. What must we do as a people to get ourselves prepped up for this, for death, which eventually will happen, whether to you or to someone that is very close? What must we do?
First thing is to come into terms that you will exit. And a dying man is not a fearful man. Wow. A dying man plans. A dying man puts his house in order. In the book of Isaiah chapter number 38, when the prophet had come to Hezekiah the king and was giving him an instruction from the throne room of grace, he said unto him that set your house in order because you are about to die. So when death beckons, you set your house in order. It's possible that the wise always live their lives as if it's their last they are going to have every day. So you should be thinking as if every day is your last day. Now, if you have that, you plan, you prepare.
But would that not put you in a state of fear as well?
No.
Thinking that you are walking through life.
What you know doesn't scare you. It is rather again, let me use another life or practical example. It's just like saying that you won't have conversation about sex with your teenage kids. They'll find out. And when they find out, they might not handle it the way you want them to handle it. So don't allow people to play the card of fear on your tables. Dictate it. All right? Jesus gave his life. He gave up his life. So you have to get to a place whereby you can confidently say, in your hands I commit my spirit. Because death comes and you meet it with a smile. Death will come anyway. It is how you meet it that matters. So how do you prepare for it? One, recognizing that it is a part of our existence. Number two, making peace with yourself. I'm not talking about peace without first. Peace with you.
How do we make this?
Exactly. So everybody has a conscience. The thing that will prick you at all times will be your conscience. What will, save of course you have a seared conscience. There are people who have seared conscience. That even if they do anything evil, they don't see it. Now that is not strange. In the medical field, we have people who, if they are, say, their T3, T4, any part of their lumbar is having a problem, the spine, they can urinate or soil themselves without even realizing that they have done that. So that gives you an idea of what it means, a seared conscience. That you can mess up yourself without even feeling it. So a seared conscience is like that.
You get to the state where you don't even feel
You don't feel it. I mean, even if you are harming somebody, you don't feel it. Even if you... So you become heartless. That's what people say. Oh, he's heartless. Oh, she's heartless. So you get to that realm of heartlessness. But you have to make peace with yourself. Your conscience will always prick you. One will be your conscience. Number two, again, there's still everybody. Even if the person is an atheist, the person believes, they would say, listen to yourself. And so what is yourself telling the you that you are doing right or wrong? Make peace with yourself. Make peace with your immediate environment. Friends, loved ones, people around you. And as much as possible, you should make peace with people. Again, apart from making peace with people, reach out to help people, because you see, a time will come that you can't help people anymore. So in as much as you can, snatch as many people as you can from death, help as many people as you can, pay as many school fees of people as you can, pay the rent for as many people as you can, give capital to as many people as you can, help as many people as you can. Be like the Good Samaritan on his way that met the bruised and battered gentleman who picked him up. Did not allow their religious divide to separate them. Yeah. Bounded by their common humanity, helped the gentleman and paid the hospital bills and all of that. What I mean is that be a blessing to people. Lay your treasures in places where rust or moth cannot touch. So those are some of the things you can do to get yourself ready for the journey that God will set before you.
I wanted us to take a short break, but just before we do that, I would want you to speak to the young people that are watching. A lot of young people watch. That we go through life as though there's no tomorrow, there's no death. There's a popular saying that enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy life, have fun, do that. And barely would young people sit down to really assess their life based on the possibility of them dying, not knowing when death is going to strike. How must these people live their lives?
It's just...
Should it be all fun-filled? Because definitely you might not know when you're going to die, so you just enjoy, chill up, and then have a good time here.
Yeah. No matter how beautiful an airport is, you don't lay your bed there. Because you are in transit. So it's just unfortunate that people are hanging permanent pictures on temporal walls. You are in transit here. So if you get to Heathrow or Schiphol or JFK, wherever, SeaTac, wherever airport that you get to, you will still find out that no matter how beautiful the number of food joints and shops that are there, they will call your flight. And once your flight is called, if you don't get there on time, they will leave. But life and death, it will come for you. So you have to know that no matter how beautiful the world might appear to you, life is sweet, life is good, enjoy, all of that. They are temporal spaces. So where you will have permanency should be of primary concern to you. I'm not saying don't be responsible. We will talk about that after the break. When you begin to put things in order before you exit. But of course, if you know that these are temporal halls that you have been given the chance to occupy, you will not be fixated on the beauty of the walls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you just joined us, this is Wednesday, and we are talking about a very intriguing subject. We are talking about death. Death. The nuances of it. And Papa, Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye is taking us through what we should do, I beg your pardon, and preparing ourselves for what will eventually happen, what we must do. He's spoken about the fear factor, how we'll be able to get rid of the fear that is associated with death, what we must do. So if you just joined us, that's it. I would like to remind our viewers also that the show today is proudly sponsored by Hibiscus Infusion Healthy. They have sponsored the show, and many thanks to them. And also, if you want to sponsor, you can also bring your product. You can get in touch with us. We are going to advertise it. Thankfully, the numbers and the viewers are increasing by the day. So it's going to be a very good business to do. So we are going to take a short break. When I return, we are going to move on to another, on the same subject, but another dimension of the discussion. We want to find out what specifically is it that this age we seem to be dying so early. Because almost every older person you speak with agrees to the fact that back in the days, death wasn't really something that you really find with young people like that. These days you see obituary posters and it's like a young man just went. It's like we are dying too quick. What is the reason? Is this something we are doing wrong? Is it God's agenda? Is it God that is doing that? Is it Satan that is doing that to us? We want to find answers to this. Please stay and return after the break.
When you are going through any stage in your life, there will be times that you doubt whether God is with you. It's a stage. Jesus said, my Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? You'll get to a place where you will feel forsaken. It's part of your movement from stage 1 to stage 2. At every stage, there are things and lessons that you will have to learn. When we are going through transitions, one of the things as Christians we should have at the back of our mind is that once there is a God factor in our transitions, there are certain things that we have to master, we have to know, and if we are able to do that, things become relatively easier for us. Whenever God is with you, you go through phases that men could laugh or can laugh at you, but at the end of the day, God will give you a response to every mockery or ridicule. When the favor of God visits a man, it brings visitation upon the man. God visits people based on where they are going, not where they are. An angel had visited Mary, and when the angel visited Mary, the angel came with a salutation that was strange. said, Mary, you are blessed amongst women. And yet, at this point, the lady was only a teenager. When God manifests himself in the lives of an individual, God is not considering their current state or status. God is considering where he's taking them to. And so God will look at somebody that people will relegate, people will look down upon, people will not count for anything. And God will slap his grace on them and call them the blessed and the favored amongst women. Don't forget that when God visited Gideon, Gideon was hiding. Gideon was a coward and was hiding. And when the angel had visited Gideon, the angel said, you are a mighty man of valor. Why? Because God will always judge your end, not your present predicament. And when God visits anybody, God changes their identity and their address. Oftentimes, the challenge of men become the address of men. That there are so many people who address us by our challenges, that they prefer to call us by our problems than by our names. Sarah was not raised in a heathenistic family. Abraham wasn't an atheist. They were believers, and yet they were ridiculed and mocked by many. Mockery happens to be the introductory ground for anybody that is destined for higher heights. Jesus was mocked upon. They mocked him. They spat on him. That was mockery. But before that mockery, he never had the crown of glory. But the address of men is not the conclusion of God. Because sometimes when men are making their public addresses, God, who is all wise and all knowing, the God who knows your end from your beginning, will cause and will always use them, and the same platform, the same table, the same place where they ridiculed and mocked that person, that will be the same place God will glorify that person.
All right, welcome back to Wednesday with Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye. We are talking about death. Death. Very exciting, interesting comment coming through. But we want to encourage you, please share the video and also send in your comments. And if you have any question at all about this subject, you can please send them in. Very interesting comments coming through. I wish I could read one of these, but let me just remind you, the show today is proudly sponsored by Healthy Hibiscus Infusion. This is a made in Ghana product. I think you need to get a drink. It is what we call sobolo, right? Yeah, hibiscus drink. Very healthy. That has been put together. It's a made in Ghana drink. You need to get it. Very healthy for you. You can also follow them on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Healthy Hibiscus Infusions. And I know there are several products that they are put up there that I get yourself a drink. All right. So we have a lot of questions coming through. We also want to remind you that at a certain point in time on the show, we are going to open the phone lines so that you call in. Share with us some of the experiences you've had. Maybe you lost a dear one, someone very close to you, and you couldn't handle the pain, what it did to you. Maybe you are still struggling with the pain of the loss of a dear one. Call, share with us. Dr. Michael is here. He's going to give you a word that is going to help you and settle you and also pray with you. So when the phone lines are activated, please call in. You can better still send the messages as well and let us read them for you. Okay. All right. So we're getting back into the discussion. I was asking that any older person you speak with says this, that this generation, we die too early. And we want to find out why that phenomenon. Is this something that was happening in the past just that they couldn't keep record, or it's a matter of truth that we are really dying young? And if we are, what is the cause? Papa? A lot of the obituary posters you see, now even if someone is about 55 and a person dies, we don't really think it's too early. Unlike about
because of
2
the
decades
life
ago.
expectancy of every country. There are some countries that living up to 50 is a miracle.
Is it because of the way we are living, or it is something that is happening now that we are doing now?
Well, first of all, we have to go back to our roots and find out that there are people or generations that came that people were living up to 900 and
That's
700
right.
and 800 and 600 and 400 years and still very productive. So if somebody is 400 and he can still give birth, 400 years. So 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, they were all living good old age. But we know why people can die young. Obey your parents in the Lord. This will prolong your days. So not respecting the elderly is a way of cutting your life short. Okay. One of the easy life boosters is honor, respect, and due recognition given to old age. Again, let me say this. Anybody who doesn't celebrate, appreciate, and respect old age sliced their lives probably into half or something more. Reason is that you can never sit on a throne you don't value and appreciate. If somebody has lived to 100 and you think it's nothing, somebody is 60 and you can abuse them because of probably status. They don't have money. They don't have name. They don't have anything. So you see them and you treat them as nothing. The Bible talks about us even treating strangers well because unknowingly people have entertained angels. So you might even see somebody who came around you. Let me share with you a story that happened to me many years ago. I'm talking about more than 20 years ago. I was praying on a field. I was still about 21, 22 years ago. I was a student, at the Kumasi Polytechnic. But I used to pray on a school field. So from 9, 10, I'll be on the field. I'll go home at about 2 a.m. and I'll go and sleep a bit and wake up for school. One time I was going back home, and where I lived, the back of my house was a cemetery. So I always go through the cemetery before I go home.
Was it the cemetery just behind your...
Just behind my house. So I go to the school field, but I have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Wait, Papa, explain it a bit, because maybe now in this modern time, cemeteries are not as scary as they used to be. I remember like 20 years ago, you see cemeteries.
The myth around cemeteries.
Even in the evenings, you wouldn't want to
behind my house, right behind my house. Right behind. As in the wall of my house.
The boundary.
Share the boundary with the cemetery. So I was living with dead bodies. That's what it means. And so I will go through it. When I was going home, some few meters before I got to the cemetery, a man was approaching me from the other side. The man was coming. It was a road, so the man was coming from the other side. I was on that side. When we were getting almost closer, the man was crossing to where I was. And it's just like yesterday, because the memory, everything is coming back.
Okay.
The man approached me, and the man lifted the hands, and I shook him.
His hand.
I shook his hand.
Stranger.
A stranger. I didn't know him. I didn't know him. But I wasn't afraid. I was supercharged from the field, praying. I knew that even if the devil comes, I can hold him. You know, when you have prayed and you know you are on fire, you are not afraid of anything.
That's right.
You even want to meet a demon to cast out. You know, you want to meet something, and it doesn't. So I wasn't afraid, interestingly. I met the man shook my hand, and the man